Today we're taking a look at our Canon FD to Fujifilm X-mount DLX Stretch adapter. This is a lens adapter that allows you to mount vintage Canon FD lenses like this Vivitar 20mm to your Fujifilm X-mount mirrorless camera. And this adapter works like any other adapter, but it also has a built-in macro mode. First, I'll show you how to mount the Canon FD lens. To mount it, first you're going to want to make sure this install arrow is lined up with the red dot. That's essential for mounting an FD lens on this adapter. Just make sure that is set. And there's two versions of FD. Some you'll just mount and rotate to lock into place, but this older FD mount lens has a breech lock. So the way this works is you line up the red mounting dot on the lens with the red mounting dot on the adapter, press the lens into the adapter, and then you're going to actually rotate the breech lock ring on the lens, and that locks it into place. Now let's mount the lens and adapter onto our Fujifilm X-mount camera. We're going to simply line up this red mounting dot with the red mounting dot on the camera, press the adapter into the camera, and rotate it to lock it into place. There we go. Now we've got this vintage 20mm Canon FD lens adapted to our Fujifilm X-mount camera. In this case, it's the X-T100, but this will work on every Fujifilm X-mount camera. Now, if you leave this adapter as is, it'll work just like any other standard lens adapter. You can shoot in manual modes. You have to focus manually. You have to adjust the aperture manually, but it's just going to work like any other manual lens. But like I said at the beginning of this video, this lens adapter has a built-in macro mode, and you access this mode by rotating the ring on the adapter, and this extends the lens up to 10mm farther away from the camera's sensor. And as we're rotating this macro helicoid, as we're extending the lens farther away from the sensor, we're actually increasing how close this lens can focus. And a macro helicoid works just like the standard focusing mechanism in a lens. As you can see with this one, as I manually focus this Vivitar 20mm, it's moving this part of the lens farther away from the rest of the body of the lens to focus closer up. So in the same way, to make this lens focus even closer, we're going to use the macro helicoid in the adapter. And that's doing pretty much the same thing the manual focus ring on this lens is doing, but it's adding extra close-up focus. DLX stretch adapters are a great way to turn any adapted lens into a macro focusing lens. Even if your lens doesn't focus very close up, by adding an extra 10mm of space by rotating this macro helicoid, you can turn even a non-macro lens into a macro lens. Now, the funny thing about this lens that I chose to use in this demo video is it already has a pretty close minimum focusing distance. If I focus it all the way, it can focus up to 2 inches. So this already has a pretty close focus. But if we rotate the DLX stretch macro helicoid, this lens now has a minimum focusing distance of less than 1 inch. So even with lenses that have pretty close focus, the DLX stretch adapter is giving them that extra oomph. Our DLX stretch adapters change the minimum focusing distance of lenses. Now, to figure out exactly what your new minimum focusing distance will be, you have to use a simple equation. And the best way I've found to do this equation is on this online calculator. If you want to use the calculator to see what kind of new minimum focusing distance you would get with a specific adapted lens on this adapter, click the link in the description below. It links right to that handy online calculator. Now, one quick note, this is a fully manual adapter. There are no electronic communication pins, so you won't have any electronic control of the focus or the aperture of a lens, but that's fine. You can shoot in manual mode, or you can shoot in an aperture priority mode. That'll work as well, or even a shutter priority. You're just gonna have to change the aperture manually, and if you wanna focus the lens, you're gonna have to focus it manually as well. Now, you could just leave it at infinity focus and do all the focusing with the macro helicoid. But if you want to get to the closest focus you can, you're going to want to focus the lens all the way to its minimum focusing distance, and then make sure you're at 10mm on the macro helicoid. Now, not only do our DLX stretch adapters have a built-in macro mode, they also come with 3 drop-in ND filters. And these are great filters to use if you're shooting in super bright sunlight and you want that built-in ND filtration to cut that light, especially if you're shooting shallow depth of field video and you want that cinematic look, or you're shooting long exposures. Now, each DLX Stretch adapter comes with 3 drop-in filters. We have an ND4, an ND8, and an ND16, and they come in a handy little carrying case. And it's really easy to drop them in. You're just going to flip the adapter over, take an ND filter, and just drop it in. And there's actually magnets built into the adapter, so it holds the drop-in ND filter into place. And that filter is not going anywhere. So not only does this adapter give you a macro mode, it also gives you rear mounting ND filters, which can be really helpful if you are a filmmaker or if you're looking to shoot long exposure photography. Now, we don't just make Canon FD to Fuji X DLX Stretch adapters. We have an entire line of DLX Stretch macro adapters for Fujifilm X-mount cameras to adapt all sorts of different types of lens mounts. Plus, we make an entire line of DLX Stretch adapters for other types of mirrorless cameras. So if you want to learn more about this lens adapter, more about our entire line of Fuji X DLX Stretch adapters, or our entire line of DLX Stretch adapters, click the links in the description below. Also, click right here to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more videos just like this one. I'm Sean with Fotodiox.com, and have fun shooting with macro helicoid adapters.